benefits, and particularly when we look at defence forces and the port and all of the things that go on, of course, tourism. Great population predictions going forward. There is one thing that could even drive it more, and there has been, it was back in about January of last year, the front page of the bulletin up there ran the story of the US government looking to bring in, looking at closing one of their ports in Japan and bringing it into the Pacific region, and Townsville was very high on the agenda. If that's the case, it'll bring in 3,000 servicemen and women into Townsville, which they reckon will boost about 8,000 in general population growth.
Your pitch doesn't match your description of the hospital.
No.
So yeah, it's not there anymore.
That's right.
So it's at Townsville University.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. My apologies. Townsville is, I'm very impressed with how it's developing and going along. It's a lovely place to be and visit, and there's a lot of housing, a lot of requirement there. It has grown to be the largest port in North Queensland. I mean, if we talk to anyone up there, and even listen to the government, the government are looking to have Townsville come as a capital of Northern Queensland. I think it's only a matter of time before that will happen. I think there's a lot of government facilities going in there, so that's generating it as well. So it's becoming a really, I think, something of the future to really look at. Defence forces are strong and getting stronger. Good lifestyles. In fact, that was us sitting there having breakfast, looking at Magnetic Island, and it's quite delightful there. Weather and climate, don't need to tell you what it is. The main thing I was about today was to let you know that what we do, we will give you a detailed report onto your property, and only from the start to the completion. And the completion doesn't seem to end because we do work in with the real estate people to make sure that it's being managed in the right manner. We do some regular inspections on that, and making sure that your investment property is really looked after. And as I said a little earlier, it is about the long term and getting that growth working for you. I mean, there's plenty of people throw plenty of figures around. I'm reasonably conservative, and history will show, if you go back and look at history, on about 10 years of the cycle, you'll see property values double. Now, there's been times where they've doubled in less than that, there's been times where they've doubled a little bit more than that, but as a general rule, that gives you a bit of a guide. So, buying a property today for $400,000 and thinking in 10 years it's going to be worth $800,000, quite often we say, how's that going to be? Just go back and look at history and what's happened. It generally does it. And the rental normally helps pay that off. We do that through using your equity within the home. Through the guys, some people are going through self-managed super funds, and it's one of the greatest changes in the super fund industry. It was in 2007 allowed change where you can start buying property through a self-managed super fund. That's a very strong growth region that's underway now. Thank you for your time. Not sure if I went over.
You're right, you're fine, we're perfect on time. It's good. Thanks, Graeme, again for everything you've talked about. Some really interesting comments there, and I'm sure that if you're looking at investing in property, there are several ways to do it. And what we've done tonight is we're here to introduce a couple of those to you. And we've been working with Graeme for a little while now, and everybody seems to like them. So generally that's a good sign. If they don't like them, you know they've done something wrong. So,
but it is about just really working. It's your property, and it's about what you want to achieve and setting your goals and where you want to be. If we sit back and don't do anything, we're not going to get looked after well by our government in the end. When we get to retirement age, if we haven't done it well for ourselves now and plan for it, we're going to struggle when we get to retirement age. And I don't think any of us want that. So,
there's some information in your packs regarding BURBS. If there's anything you want to know, we also have a feedback sheet. Yes. That you will get coming around soon, and if you've got any extra questions that haven't been covered tonight, then feel free to write them down, and either Graeme or one of the guys can give you a call and just find out what it is, what we can do to help you. There are always times to book appointments for these guys again, so that they can do a more personal discussion with you. Thank you very much, Graeme. So, yes, you did very well. Timing was very good. So, ladies and gentlemen, our second guest speaker is a highly experienced financial strategist. He passes on all his experiences to busy people looking to simplify their investment options, and I think that's what we all need. And their wealth creation strategies with high growth potential, using property as your vehicle. Okay. Over the last 5 years, he's met thousands of people by way of workshops and personal in-home discussions and assessments, and has helped many realise just how many unutilised options they have. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Bonaccorsi from Specialised Property.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Vicky and Alan, for having me along tonight. And truly it is my pleasure, of course, to be able to talk to you for the next few minutes about some topics that should concern us all. Namely in the fact that most people work hard, pay their bills. Some of us are still raising families who have done that. But sometimes we forget about the fact that one day we're going to retire. Although it's conscious that we're going to do that, it's really our responsibility to plan for that day. I represent Specialised Property Partners, and over the last few years we've specialised in NRAS, which is short for National Rental Affordability Scheme. I don't know if any of you in the room are familiar with it, but if you are, could you just put your hand up, please? Okay, a couple of people. All right, that's good. Okay, it's very exciting, and what I'm going to do tonight basically is explain to you in plain English how that can simplify the process of creating some income and some wealth for your retirement. Okay. Back in 2008, the federal government sat down in a bipartisan agreement. That means all the parties were in agreement with this. They realised that there's a big problem in the Australian landscape, and that rentals, the cost of renting accommodation, that's a family home in the suburbs in Australia, is rising out of proportion. Okay, and the startling thing is that in the future it's going to continue to rise. Okay, now, you know, there's a lot of factors for that, and the main growth factor is employment and population growth. Okay, so the government put their heads together and developed what they call the National Rental Affordability Scheme. That scheme is designed to create more affordable housing for people that are working in the local community. Okay, it's not designed as a social housing scheme. It's not a housing commission scheme. Okay. The idea of that is that people that, say, for example, have lived in Lutwyche for 20 years and have been renting all that time, through circumstance or whatever the case is, they don't own their home. Dad has a good job, mum has a part-time job, the kids go to the local schools, they frequent the local activities and things like that. If rents get to the point that they can't afford to live in Lutwyche anymore, they then have to consider relocating to another suburb. And that's what they call displacing the public. When you displace the public, that means that mum has to find another part-time job, because it's not worth her while to drive to her part-time job if she's going to move from Lutwyche to South Brisbane. Okay? The kids have to be up to moved out of their schools. Their social commitments, their community sports and things, all that gets disrupted. Okay? So the government came up with the National Rental Affordability Scheme. And after tonight, if you want to do a little bit of research and if you want to write this down, we do have a website, which is www.nationalrentalaffordablitysscheme.net.au, and you can visit that website and download a copy of the government prospectus. Okay. Now, the purpose of the scheme is designed to create more affordable housing. They want to create 50,000 new properties. They want people out there to build 50,000 new properties across Australia. Now, through the business that I represent, for many years we've helped people find suitable property that's going to give them the capital growth and the security to give them what they want to achieve their goals, okay? But when the NRAS scheme came on board, our directors looked at it very closely, and a lot of the people involved in our business have been involved with the key people of this facility right from day one, okay? So I'm not saying that we're the total experts, but we do understand what we're talking about, okay, when it comes to the National Rental Affordability Scheme. So, in essence, it's an opportunity. What the government's done is, if you buy a brand new property that has been approved or endorsed for the scheme, over a 10-year period, each year they will give you a grant, right? Basically a free gift, a cash, tax-free gift to buy this property, okay? Which is linked to the Consumer Price Index, okay? So when they first put the scheme into place in 2008, the grant that they were offering you, the investor, was $8,000 per annum. In 2009, it went up with the CPI, which at that point was 8.4%, so it went up to $8,762. And last year it went up by about 5.4%, where it now stands at $9,140. So I'm assuming that over the next 10 years, if the CPI maintains a 5 or 6% growth factor, you will receive tax-free from the government about $100,000 in cash to help you buy that investment property. Now, what I want to achieve tonight for you is to give you a better understanding, but more importantly, if you are going to be investing in property, or more importantly, using a property as a vehicle to create wealth, you cannot deny yourself the opportunity to investigate this further. And if it's not for you at that point, well then that's okay. But you will find that the property that you're buying has gone through a rigorous background check, because the government doesn't want these houses at the back of Paddington. They want them in growing areas like Brisbane. Okay, so they are in high infrastructure areas. They're in areas where there is rising rents. They're in areas where their infrastructure systems are good, where there's public transport, good schooling systems, employment, all the factors that create capital growth for you, the investor. Okay? Now, who likes going on holidays? So what happens when you go on a holiday that normally doesn't happen when you're at home?